What if I told you that the secret to building a multi-billion-dollar brand is to make something so ugly that people can't stop talking about it? There's a shoe company that hacked human psychology so well that they turned worldwide hatred into massive profits. They took a product that was literally named one of the worst inventions in human history and somehow convinced millions of people that ugly is actually beautiful. Welcome to the bizarre psychology behind Crocs, the phenomenon that transformed the world's most hated footwear into a cultural obsession worth $4.5 billion. Scott Siemens, Lyndon Hansen, and George Bodecker were just regular entrepreneurs on a sailing trip in 2002 when Scott pulled out these weird foam shoes made from some foam material called Croslite. The shoes were lighter than air, more comfortable than clouds, and uglier than, well, pretty much anything you'd put on your feet. But our brains are funny things. Sometimes we see potential where others see problems. Most people would look at these things and think, absolutely not. But these three friends understood something psychologists call functional fixedness breakthrough, our tendency to only see objects in their traditional context. Most people saw ugly shoes. These entrepreneurs saw the most comfortable boat shoes ever created. They weren't blinded by appearance because they were focused on function. They bought the technology, founded Crocs Inc., and launched the beach model at a boat show in Florida. All 200 pairs sold out immediately. Why? Because the people buying them cared more about their feet feeling good than their feet looking good. Nurses found out they could work 12-hour shifts without foot pain. Restaurant workers found shoes that were slip-resistant and easy to clean. Gardeners loved that they could hose them off after working in dirt. The early adopters weren't fashion-conscious consumers. They were people who needed their feet to work properly. By 2005, they'd sold 4.4 million pairs and made $75 million. Their 2006 stock launch became the biggest footwear IPO in U.S. history, raising $208 million. Even President George W. Bush was photographed sporting black Crocs with socks, giving them presidential street cred. There's this thing called the bandwagon effect in reverse, where anything that becomes too mainstream automatically becomes less desirable to our status-conscious brains. When everyone's doing something, our brains start looking for ways to be different. It's like we're evolutionarily programmed to reject things that everyone else is doing, because being different used to be a survival advantage. By 2007, Crocs had exploded to $847 million in sales, but cultural backlash was already brewing. Everyone was wearing them. Nurses, kids, celebrities, your neighbor, probably your mom. But this created a huge problem. Crocs had become the ultimate symbol of choosing comfort over style and practicality over fashion. They represented the idea of completely giving up on looking good in favor of feeling good. In a society where your shoes communicate your social status, income level, fashion awareness, and cultural belonging, wearing Crocs was like holding up a sign saying, "I've stopped trying." That made them perfect psychological targets for everyone who still cared about appearances. None of this criticism was about functionality. Everyone admitted Crocs were comfortable. The hatred was purely psychological. Researchers from Harvard found that people's hatred of Crocs was affect-based rather than cognition-based. The shoes triggered immediate emotional reactions about social status and cultural belonging before logical thought ever kicked in. Wearing Crocs became a social signal that you'd given up on conventional attractiveness and that you cared more about personal comfort than social acceptance. The shoes had become a cultural litmus test, and failing it had real social consequences. Society launched an all-out attack on foam footwear, and it was absolutely brutal. Bill Maher stood up on HBO and told the entire country to stop wearing plastic shoes. Fashion expert Tim Gunn said they looked like plastic hoofs and asked how anyone could take them seriously. Late-night comedians built entire routines around mocking people who wore them. This psychological warfare worked because humans are social creatures. Nobody wanted to be the person defending ugly shoes when everyone cool was making fun of them. It's basic social psychology. We follow the crowd to avoid being excluded from the group. Everything changed in 2017 when Andrew Reese became CEO with the most counterintuitive strategy in business history. Instead of fighting the ugly reputation, he decided to use it as a weapon. His philosophy was backwards from normal thinking. Our goal is not to make the haters love the brand, it's to exploit that intrinsic tension because it creates opportunity, PR, media, and interest. This is textbook reverse psychology. Instead of trying to change what people thought about Crocs, he changed what it meant to think those things. Crocs, in all their rubber glory, represented radical authenticity in an increasingly artificial world. They were genuinely comfortable, genuinely functional, and genuinely ugly. The strategy was brilliant. Lean into the weirdness. Own the ugliness. Make being different a competitive advantage rather than something to hide. Instead of diversifying away from the original clog design, Reese focused 75% of the product line back on variations of the classic holy shoe that had made them famous. Instead of avoiding the controversy, he used it as free marketing that kept Crocs in cultural conversations. Reese also understood modern consumer psychology. People don't just buy products anymore. They buy membership in communities. These weren't necessarily large communities, but they were passionate, loyal, and willing to pay premium prices for products that represented their values. When the world went into lockdown and everyone started working from home, comfort became more important than looks for the first time in decades. Suddenly, caring more about how your shoes felt than how they looked wasn't embarrassing. Work-from-home culture eliminated the social pressure that had always worked against Crocs. You didn't need to worry about coworkers judging your footwear when you were on Zoom calls that only showed your upper body. People who had always wanted to wear comfortable shoes but feared social judgment finally had permission to prioritize their feet over their image. The company's Free Pair for Healthcare initiative donated over 860,000 pairs to frontline workers, creating massive goodwill while demonstrating the shoe's practical value during a global crisis. Social media platforms that had once been engines of Crocs hatred became engines of celebration and community building. TikTok became the secret weapon, with the hashtag Crocs generating over 3.2 billion views as Gen Z creators styled, customized, and celebrated the formerly maligned shoes. The app's algorithm amplified positive Crocs content while drowning out negative voices from older generations. Croctober became a real cultural moment in 2020, with campaigns generating 7.2 billion views. Revenue exploded from $1.38 billion in 2020 to $2.3 billion in 2021. That's 67% growth, while most shoe companies were struggling. Crocs had successfully turned ugly into beautiful, and mockery into marketing gold. Today, Crocs makes $4.1 billion annually. When people buy into your message instead of just your product features, they'll pay premium prices for foam shoes. The story of how the world's most mocked shoe became worth $4.5 billion isn't really about shoes, fashion, or even business success. People are tired of fake perfection and hungry for genuine experiences. The lesson goes way beyond shoes or business. In a world that pressures everyone to be perfect, maybe true ugliness really is the new beautiful. Crocs proved that sometimes the thing that makes everyone mock you is exactly the thing that will make you billions of dollars, but only if you're smart enough to own it. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more business wizardry, smash that like and subscribe button.